"That ring belongs to my late wife," the millionaire said to the waitress in tears. The late afternoon sun hung low over Montgomery Estate, casting long shadows across the white marble columns that lined the grand patio. The air was thick with the scent of gardenias, sweet, almost cloying, mixed with something else Richard Coleman couldn't quite name. Something that made his jaw tighten as he stepped out of the black Mercedes. Lies, maybe. Or danger. He'd been gone only 3 days. 3 days to finalize the test he'd been planning for weeks. The one that would tell him once and for all who actually gave a damn about his newborn triplets and who was just circling the fortune like vultures waiting for roadkill. Richard Coleman didn't trust easily. 40 years of building an empire from nothing had taught him that people wore masks. Beautiful masks. Expensive masks. Masks that smiled and said all the right things while their hands reached for your wallet. Or worse, for what you loved most. And right now, what he loved most was sleeping in 3 separate cribs upstairs. Tiny and helpless and completely dependent on him to make the right call. He'd almost made it to the front door when the scream cut through the afternoon quiet like a knife through silk. "Get your filthy hands off them." Richard's blood went cold. He knew that voice. Victoria Ashford, his fiancée, the woman he'd chosen to help him raise his sons, the woman who was supposed to bring warmth back into this mausoleum of a house after Catherine died. He rounded the corner of the patio at a near run, and the scene that met him stopped him dead in his tracks. Victoria stood in the center of the courtyard, her red dress blazing like a warning flare against the pale stone. Her finger was pointed like a weapon at a young woman in a simple server's uniform. Naomi, one of the staff who'd been hired a few weeks ago to help with events. But it wasn't Victoria he was looking at. It was the triplets. All 3 of them, nestled against Naomi's chest like they belonged there, like they'd been born in her arms instead of ripped from Catherine's dying body in an operating room that still haunted Richard's nightmares. They were calm, peaceful, their tiny faces relaxed in sleep. Small fists curled against the plain cotton of Naomi's uniform. When was the last time he'd seen them that quiet? "She's stealing them." Victoria's voice climbed higher, sharp enough to shatter glass. "I caught her trying to take them out of the house, Richard. She's been planning this. God knows how long she's been watching, waiting. I wasn't..." Naomi's voice was quiet but steady, surprisingly so for someone being accused of kidnapping. They were crying. The nurses were all, "Don't you dare make excuses." Victoria advanced on her, heels clicking against stone like gunshots. "You think I don't see what you're doing, playing the sweet little helper, worming your way in, making yourself indispensable." "Victoria," Richard's voice cut through the chaos like ice water. "What the hell is going on?" His fiancée spun toward him, and for just a second, less than a heartbeat, he saw something in her face that didn't match the tears gathering in her perfectly lined eyes. Something cold and calculating that vanished the moment she registered his presence. "Oh, thank God you're back." She crossed to him quickly, one hand reaching for his arm. Her touch felt like a brand through his shirt sleeve. "I didn't want to call you. I know how important your meetings were, but Richard, she's been..." "Ms. Ashford." Naomi's voice was still quiet, but there was steel underneath now. The babies were crying, all 3 of them. They'd been crying for almost an hour, and no one was... "That's a lie." Victoria whirled back, red dress flaring. "The nurses know their schedule perfectly well. Babies cry. It's what they do. They need to learn. They're 2 weeks old." Naomi shifted her weight slightly, protective, one hand cupping the smallest triplet's head. "They don't need to learn anything except that someone comes when they need help." Richard felt something twist in his chest. He'd heard those words before, or something close to them. Catherine had said something similar. Near the end, when she was still lucid enough to talk about the future she wouldn't live to see. "Richard, you can't possibly believe..." Victoria's fingers tightened on his arm. "This girl is nobody, a waitress we hired for the summer events. She has no business touching your children, let alone our children." The correction was automatic. He'd been doing it for weeks now, trying to make Victoria feel included, trying to build the family unit the triplets would need. But watching Naomi stand there with his sons sleeping peacefully against her chest, watching Victoria's face twist with something that looked less like maternal concern and more like territorial rage, Richard felt the first real crack in the foundation he'd been trying to build. "Right, our children," Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Which is exactly why I'm so concerned about this situation. We can't have just anyone handling them, darling. There are protocols, safety measures, background checks we still need to complete." "I passed the background check when I was hired," Naomi said quietly. "I have my food handler's license, my CPR certification, and I don't care what licenses you have." Victoria's mask slipped again, just for a second. "You're the help. You serve drinks and clear tables. You don't touch the Coleman heirs unless explicitly instructed to do so. The Coleman heirs, not the babies, not the children, not even their names. Alexander, Benjamin, Christopher, the heirs." Richard looked at the woman he'd asked to marry him, really looked at her for the first time in months, and felt something cold settle in his gut. "Put them down." Victoria's voice had gone dangerously soft. "Now. They're sleeping." Naomi didn't move. "If I put them down now, they'll wake up crying again." "I said, put them..." "Stop." Both women froze at Richard's voice. He moved forward slowly, deliberately, until he was close enough to see the triplets clearly. They were completely relaxed. Benjamin, the middle one, the one who'd been having trouble keeping formula down, had his tiny fist wrapped around a fold of Naomi's collar. Christopher, the smallest, was making those little sleeping sounds that Catherine used to call dream talking. And Alexander, his firstborn by 3 minutes, had an expression of such complete peace that Richard felt his throat tighten. When was the last time any of them had slept like that? He reached out slowly, and Naomi stood perfectly still as he touched Alexander's cheek with one finger. Warm, healthy, safe. How long have they been asleep? His voice came out rougher than he intended. "About 20 minutes. Naomi met his eyes directly. No fear there, no calculation, just honest concern. "They were crying when I came on shift. The night nurses said they'd been difficult all morning. They needed someone." "You had no right," Victoria started, but Richard held up one hand. "Go inside, Victoria." Silence dropped over the patio like a curtain. "Richard, you can't be serious." "Inside, now. We'll talk about this later." His fiancée's face went through several interesting colors before settling on a smile so tight it looked painful. "Of course, darling. Whatever you think is best." She turned on her heel and stalked toward the house, red dress blazing in the dying light like a threat nobody had been smart enough to recognize yet. Richard waited until the sound of her heels faded before looking back at Naomi. "Tell me the truth," he said quietly. "Why were you really out here with them?" Naomi's dark eyes didn't waver. "Because nobody else was listening. And somehow, standing in the gardenia-scented air that smelled like lies, and watching his sons sleep peacefully in the arms of a woman he barely knew." Richard Coleman realized his test had already begun. He just hadn't been testing the right person. Naomi's hands trembled slightly as she transferred the sleeping triplets back to their nursery bassinets, one by one, with the kind of care that came from muscle memory. She didn't know she still had. Benjamin first, always Benjamin first, because he was the fussiest and needed the most reassurance. Then Christopher, light as a feather, his breathing soft and even. Finally Alexander, who made a small sound of protest before settling back into sleep. She'd done this before, not with these babies, but with others, in another life, in another place, when her hands had been steadier and her heart less broken. San Antonio, 4 years ago. The memory hit her like it always did, sudden, unwelcome, sharp enough to steal her breath. The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's maternity ward, the smell of antiseptic and fear, the sound of a woman screaming behind closed doors while Naomi stood frozen in the hallway, clipboard clutched in sweating hands. She'd been 24 then, fresh out of a medical assistant program she'd barely been able to afford, working double shifts to send money back to Santa Fe where her mother was dying by inches from cancer. They couldn't treat because they couldn't pay. Naomi had been invisible then too, just another face in scrubs, another nobody fetching coffee and updating charts and staying out of the way when the real doctors swept through on their rounds. She'd learned to be invisible early, had to after what happened with Catherine. Catherine, even thinking her sister's name hurt, 15 years since they'd been torn apart, and it still felt like yesterday, still felt like Naomi's fault, even though she'd only been 13 when their father made his choice. "Only one of you gets to stay," he'd said. voice flat and final as a judge's gavel. The scandal had been too big, the shame too public. Their mother, Naomi's mother, not Catherine's, never Catherine's, had been the other woman for 20 years. And when the truth came out, someone had to pay. Catherine got to keep the name, the house, the life. She was legitimate. Her mother had been the wife. Naomi got a bus ticket and instructions to forget she'd ever had a sister. She'd tried. God. She'd tried. Built a whole new life out of nothing and silence. Worked herself to the bone. Made herself useful in the invisible way that kept people from asking questions about where she came from or who she used to be. But Catherine had found her anyway. 3 years ago, a letter had arrived at the tiny apartment Naomi shared with 2 other girls in San Antonio. No return address, just a Santa Fe postmark and handwriting Naomi recognized from birthday cards she'd kept hidden in a shoebox under her bed. I know you probably hate me. I wouldn't blame you if you did, but I need you to know something. I never stopped looking for you, and now I need your help. They'd met in secret. Coffee shops on Catherine's business trips to Texas. Quick lunches where they'd sat across from each other like strangers who shared a face, trying to rebuild 15 years of sisterhood in stolen hours. Catherine had married well. Richard Coleman. Naomi had looked him up, seen the Forbes articles, the charity galas, the empire built on commercial real estate and smart investments. Catherine wore designer clothes and real pearls and moved through the world like she belonged there. But she'd been scared. Something's not right, Catherine had told her during their last meeting, hands wrapped around a coffee cup she wasn't drinking. Richard's been different since his business partner died. Distant. And this woman who keeps showing up at events, Victoria something. She watches me like she's waiting for me to disappear. Maybe you're imagining it, Naomi had said, even though the fear in her sister's eyes was real enough to taste. Maybe, Catherine had smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Promise me something, Naomi. If anything happens to me, if I have this baby and something goes wrong, promise you'll make sure they're okay, that someone who actually gives a damn is looking out for them. Nothing's going to happen, Naomi had insisted, because the alternative was too terrible to consider. But something had happened. Catherine had been pregnant with triplets. High risk from the start. The delivery had been scheduled for St. Mary's in San Antonio, Catherine's doctor's hospital, where everything was supposed to be controlled and safe. Naomi had switched shifts, called in favors, done everything she could to be working that night. Just in case, just to be close. She'd been in the supply room when the commotion started, rushing feet, urgent voices, the code call that meant someone was dying. By the time Naomi reached the delivery floor, it was over. Catherine Coleman, deceased. Massive hemorrhage during cesarean section, 3 babies in NICU, stable but critical, and in the hallway outside the surgical suite. Naomi had seen her, a woman in an expensive coat, dark hair pulled back, talking in low, urgent tones with Dr. Marcus Westfield, the hospital's most prominent obstetrician and its least ethical practitioner. If the rumors were true, Naomi had been too far away to hear words, but she'd seen the envelope change hands, seen the woman's face when she glanced toward the NICU. Cold calculation, not grief. Seen Dr. Westfield pocket whatever was in that envelope and nod once. Sharp and final. She should have said something, should have reported it, investigated, demanded answers. But Naomi had learned young that people like her didn't make accusations against people like them, that invisibility was safety, and safety meant silence. So she'd stayed quiet, had watched them take Catherine's body away, had watched Richard Coleman arrive hollow-eyed and destroyed, had watched the woman in the expensive coat transform into the concerned friend offering comfort, Victoria Ashford. Naomi hadn't connected the dots until weeks later, after she'd quit St. Mary's and run as far from San Antonio as guilt and cowardice could carry her. She'd ended up in New Mexico, then Colorado, then finally here, drawn by a job posting for summer event staff at Montgomery Estate that had felt like fate or penance. She still wasn't sure which. She hadn't expected to find the triplets still here, hadn't expected Richard Coleman to still be unmarried, and she definitely hadn't expected Victoria Ashford to be wearing an engagement ring and calling Catherine's children ours. A soft sound pulled Naomi back to the present. Christopher was stirring, tiny face scrunching up in pre-cry distress. She moved automatically, one hand gentle on his chest, humming the lullaby her mother used to sing before cancer stole her voice. "Hush now, pequeño. I've got you." The baby settled, and Naomi's eyes drifted to the photograph on the nursery wall. Catherine in a silver frame, smiling at someone off camera, happy, alive. Around her neck in the photo, barely visible, was a pendant, small, delicate, shaped like a jacaranda bloom. Naomi's hand went to her own throat, fingers finding the matching pendant hidden under her uniform collar. Catherine had given it to her at their last meeting. "So you'll always know," Catherine had said, fastening the chain around Naomi's neck, "that you're my sister, that you matter, that someone remembers who you really are." Naomi looked down at the sleeping triplets. Alexander, Benjamin, Christopher, Catherine's sons, her nephews, though no one here knew it. "Promise me, if anything happens," she'd made a promise to a dying woman, and she'd already broken it once by staying silent. "Not again. I'll keep you safe," Naomi whispered to the sleeping babies. "Whatever it takes, I won't let her." The nursery door opened behind her. Naomi spun, heart hammering, but it was just one of the night nurses, Mrs. Chen, kind-faced and competent, the only one on staff who'd treated Naomi like a person instead of furniture. "You're still here." Mrs. Chen's eyebrows rose. "After that scene on the patio. Honey, if I were you, I'd be halfway to the state line. They needed me. They need a lot of things." Mrs. Chen moved to check the bassinets, professional and efficient, like a mama who doesn't scream at the help for doing her job. Naomi said nothing. What could she say that wouldn't sound insane? That woman might have murdered my sister. That I think she's planning something terrible. That I'm the only person in this house who knows the truth. "You be careful," Mrs. Chen said quietly, meeting Naomi's eyes. "Ms. Ashford doesn't like anyone getting between her and what she wants, and right now she wants to be Mrs. Coleman more than she wants to breathe." "I know. Do you?" The older woman's expression was serious. "Because girls like you, good girls who care too much, they're the ones who get hurt when women like that decide you're a threat." Naomi thought about the envelope changing hands, about Catherine bleeding out on an operating table, about 3 babies who should have had a mother and didn't. "I'll be careful," she lied. Victoria Ashford stood in front of her bedroom mirror, applying lipstick with the precision of a surgeon. Red, always red, the color of power, of passion, of blood, of winning. The patio incident had been unfortunate. She'd let her temper slip, let that little waitress see too much of what simmered beneath the carefully constructed surface. Richard had noticed. She'd seen it in his eyes. That flicker of doubt that was more dangerous than outright suspicion. Doubt could be managed. Doubt could be redirected, smoothed over, explained away. She just needed to be smarter about it. Victoria capped the lipstick and studied her reflection. 48 hours since Richard's return, and the house already felt different, tighter, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Good. Let them wait. Let them wonder. She'd spent 3 years positioning herself for this. 3 years of charity galas and strategic friendships, of being in the right place at the right time, of making herself indispensable to Richard Coleman's social circle after his business partner's convenient heart attack. Catherine had been an obstacle. Nothing more. A sweet, naive obstacle, who'd actually believed her husband's wealth came without cost, without compromise, without the kind of ruthless decisions that separated winners from casualties. Victoria had simply helped nature along. Dr. Westfield had been expensive, but worth every penny. A few adjustments to medication during pregnancy, some creative record-keeping, and Catherine Coleman had become Catherine Coleman, deceased. Tragic victim of childbirth complications that happened all the time, really, especially with high-risk multiples. No one had questioned it. Why would they? These things happened, and Richard, destroyed by grief and overwhelmed by 3 newborns, had needed someone, had needed her. Everything had been perfect. Until that goddamn waitress showed up. Victoria's hand tightened on the lipstick tube. Naomi, whatever her last name was, with her quiet voice and her sad eyes and her uncanny ability to calm the triplets when they screamed, the babies hadn't taken to Victoria. She'd tried. God knows she'd tried. But they cried when she held them, stiffened when she sang, turned their faces away from bottles she offered, like they could sense something wrong with her, something off, ridiculous. They were infants. They didn't sense anything except wet diapers and hunger, but Richard was starting to notice, starting to compare. That ended tonight. Victoria smoothed her dress. Silk, fitted, the exact shade of arterial spray, and headed downstairs. The house was quiet, most of the staff gone for the evening, just the night nurse on duty, and she was easy enough to manage. Mrs. Chen asked too many questions, but she'd be off rotation soon. Victoria had already arranged it. The nursery was on the second floor, east wing. Victoria's heels clicked against marble as she climbed the stairs, each step deliberate, purposeful. She'd been practicing this for weeks, the concerned stepmother routine, the woman who tried so hard but just couldn't seem to connect with her soon-to-be sons. "It's the grief," she'd told Richard last week, letting her voice crack at exactly the right moment. "They can probably sense how much I miss Catherine, how guilty I feel, being here when she's not." He'd believed her. Of course he had. Men always believed beautiful women who cried at appropriate moments. Victoria reached the nursery and pushed open the door carefully. The room was dim, lit only by a small lamp near the rocking chair. All 3 bassinets lined up in a row, machines monitoring breathing and heart rate with soft electronic beeps. She moved to the first bassinet, Alexander, the biggest, the strongest, the one who'd be worth the most someday, when the Coleman empire needed an heir. He was awake, dark eyes staring up at nothing. When he saw her, his face screwed up immediately. "Don't you dare!" Victoria hissed. But it was too late. The cry started. High, piercing, instantly setting off the other 2. Within seconds, all 3 were screaming. Victoria's jaw clenched. This was exactly the problem. They never cried like this with that waitress. Never fought her or fussed or turned away. It wasn't natural. Wasn't right, unless... The thought stopped her cold. Unless Naomi was doing something, giving them something to make them docile, to make herself look better by comparison. Formula tampering maybe, or some kind of sedative in the bottles she prepared. Victoria's mind raced. That would explain everything. The unnatural calm, the immediate trust, the way Richard had looked at the girl on the patio like she was some kind of miracle worker. And if Victoria could prove it, if she could catch Naomi drugging the Coleman heirs, Richard would have no choice but to fire her, possibly even press charges. The crying intensified. Victoria picked up Alexander, holding him at arm's length like contaminated evidence. He screamed harder, little face going purple. "Fine," she snapped. "Scream your head off, see if I care." She put him back down, not gently, and grabbed the bottle warmer from the side table. The formula was pre-made by the kitchen staff, but Victoria had her own supply hidden in her room. Nothing harmful, just enough sedative to keep them quiet when she needed them quiet. Just enough to make things easier. She was reaching for Benjamin when footsteps sounded in the hallway. Victoria froze. The door was partially open. She hadn't bothered closing it fully, and through the gap, she could see a shadow approaching. Naomi. Of course it was Naomi. The girl had probably been lurking somewhere nearby, waiting for exactly this moment. "Miss Ashford." Naomi's voice was carefully neutral as she appeared in the doorway. "Is everything okay? I have it under control." Victoria didn't turn around, couldn't let the waitress see her face right now, see the rage that was definitely showing. "You're off duty." "I know, but they're crying, and they're babies. They cry. It's normal." "Not like this." Naomi moved into the room, and Victoria could feel her presence like an insult. "They sound distressed. They're fine." Victoria turned finally, letting ice creep into her voice. "I'm perfectly capable of managing 3 infants without assistance from the help." Naomi's eyes went to the bassinets, then to the bottle in Victoria's hand. Something flickered across her face. Suspicion. Recognition. "That bottle," Naomi said slowly. "That's not from the kitchen." Victoria's blood went cold. "Excuse me. The kitchen uses a different brand. Glass bottles, not plastic, that one." Naomi moved closer, and Victoria had to resist the urge to step back. "Where did that come from?" "I had it specially ordered. The pediatrician recommended." "Which pediatrician?" Naomi's voice stayed soft, but there was steel underneath. Because Dr. Morrison specifically said the triplets should stay on the same formula until their digestive systems mature. How the hell did a waitress know that? I don't answer to you. Victoria's voice went dangerously quiet. You seem to be forgetting your place, miss. I don't even know your last name, do I? Because you're that forgettable, that irrelevant. Reyes. Naomi met her eyes directly. My name is Naomi Reyes. And I'm not trying to challenge you, Mrs. Ashford. I'm just concerned about the babies. The babies are my concern now, mine and Richard's, not yours. You're a temporary employee who serves drinks at parties. Victoria moved closer, using her height advantage. You're nothing. You have nothing. You are nothing. And the sooner you accept that and stay in your lane, the better this will go for everyone. The triplets were still crying, the sound filling the nursery like an alarm Victoria couldn't shut off. Naomi looked at them, then back at Victoria. Let me help. No, Ms. Ashford, please, get out. For a long moment, Naomi didn't move. Then slowly she nodded. Okay, she said quietly, but if you need anything, I won't. Naomi turned and left, her footsteps soft against the carpet. The moment she was gone, Victoria grabbed Alexander again. He screamed harder, fighting her hold, tiny fists flailing. Stop it, she hissed. Just stop it, you little... But they didn't stop. None of them stopped. And somewhere down the hall, Victoria was certain, Naomi Reyes was listening, planning, becoming a problem that would need to be solved. Victoria looked down at the special bottle in her hand, the one with just enough sedative to make difficult babies cooperative, and made a decision. Tomorrow, she'd make sure everyone saw exactly what kind of person Naomi really was. Tomorrow, the waitress would be gone, one way or another. Richard made the announcement at breakfast, his voice carrying across the formal dining room with the same authority he used in boardrooms. I've decided to implement a trial period before the wedding. Victoria's coffee cup paused halfway to her lips. A trial period. 1 week. Richard didn't look at her, his attention focused on cutting his omelet with surgical precision, to observe how the household functions with the triplets, who they respond to, what routines work best. That's very thoughtful, darling. Victoria set down her cup carefully, smile fixed in place. Though I'm not sure what you're hoping to learn that we don't already know, the babies are adjusting beautifully. Are they? The question hung in the air like a blade. Naomi stood by the sideboard, officially present to refill coffee, but really just trying to be invisible. She'd learned the art of disappearing in plain sight, how to arrange her face into pleasant neutrality, how to make her hands busy with meaningless tasks while her ears caught everything. Of course they are. Victoria's laugh sounded like breaking glass. They're infants, Richard. They cry, they sleep, they eat. It's not exactly complicated. Alexander had a fever last night. Did you know that? Silence. Naomi's hands stilled on the coffee pot. No, I didn't. Victoria recovered quickly. The night nurse should have informed me immediately. I'll speak to her about... The night nurse did inform you. She left a message with your assistant at 9 p.m. Victoria's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I must not have received it. You know how unreliable Elena can be with... The fever broke around 11. Richard finally looked up, and his eyes were ice, because someone noticed he was fussy, checked his temperature, and gave him the appropriate dosage of infant acetaminophen. Someone who wasn't a nurse, someone who wasn't you. Naomi felt both of them looking at her now. She kept her gaze on the coffee pot, willing herself to stay invisible. The waitress? Victoria's voice could have frozen water. You're telling me you trust medical decisions to a girl who serves drinks over your own fiancé. I'm telling you that someone was paying attention. Richard pushed back from the table. And during this trial week, I'm going to be paying attention too, to everything. He left without another word, footsteps echoing on marble. The moment he was gone, Victoria stood, her chair scraped against the floor with a sound like a scream. You! She turned to Naomi, eyes blazing. Come with me. Naomi set down the coffee pot and followed, because what choice did she have? They walked through the east corridor in silence, Victoria's heels clicking like a countdown. They ended up in Victoria's private suite, a room Naomi had only seen while cleaning. All cream silk and strategic lighting designed to make its occupant look like a Renaissance painting. Victoria closed the door, locked it. "Let's be very clear about something," she said, voice dangerously soft. "I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now." "I'm not playing any game, Mrs. Ashford. Don't lie to me." Victoria moved closer. "You think I don't see it? The way you hover around those babies like you have some claim to them. The way Richard looks at you like you're—" She cut herself off, jaw working. "Like I'm what? Useful." The word came out like poison. Men like Richard, they value usefulness, efficiency, results. You're giving him results by making yourself indispensable, and that makes you dangerous. Naomi held her ground, even though every instinct screamed to back away. "I'm just doing my job. Your job is to serve cocktails and clear plates, not to play nursemaid, not to make me look incompetent. That's not what I'm trying to—" "I don't care what you're trying to do." Victoria's smile was all teeth. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes this week, small ones at first. Wrong formula temperature, missed feeding schedule, nothing too obvious, but enough that Richard notices you're not the miracle worker he thinks you are." Naomi's blood went cold. "You want me to sabotage the baby's care? I want you to be human, fallible, forgettable." Victoria turned to her vanity, picking up a brush and running it through her hair with vicious strokes. "Because right now, you're a problem, and I solve problems. Is that what you did to Catherine?" The words were out before Naomi could stop them. The air in the room changed instantly, going from tense to lethal. Victoria's hand stilled on the brush. When she turned, her face was perfectly calm, which was somehow worse than anger. "What did you just say?" Naomi's heart hammered, but she'd already jumped off the cliff. Might as well finish falling. "Catherine Coleman, Richard's wife. She died at St. Mary's in San Antonio during childbirth. I know because I was there." "Were you?" It wasn't a question. "I was working as a medical assistant. I saw things that didn't add up. Complications that seemed orchestrated." Victoria laughed, a sound like shattering crystal. "And you think what? That I killed her? That's quite an accusation from someone with no proof, no credentials, and no credibility. I didn't say you killed her. No. But you implied it, which is slander, by the way, actionable in court." Victoria set down the brush with deliberate care. "But let's pretend, just for fun, that you're right, that someone did want Catherine out of the way. What would you do about it? Go to Richard with your wild theories. He'd laugh you out of the house. Go to the police. With what evidence? Your word against hospital records signed by one of the most respected obstetricians in Texas." Naomi said nothing, because Victoria was right. She had nothing concrete, just suspicions and a memory of an envelope changing hands. "That's what I thought." Victoria picked up her phone. "Now, about those mistakes you're going to make." "No. Excuse me. I won't sabotage those babies." Naomi's voice was steady now, fear burning away into something harder. "Fire me if you want. Threaten me. But I won't hurt them to make you look better." Victoria studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. "You know what? You're right. That was crude of me." She tapped something on her phone. "Much better to let you hang yourself." Before Naomi could ask what that meant, there was a knock at the door. Victoria opened it to reveal Hayes, the estate's head of security, and Marcus, the groundskeeper who'd always looked at Naomi with slightly too much interest. "Thank you for coming," Victoria said smoothly. "I need you to search this woman's quarters. I have reason to believe she's been stealing from the estate." "What?" Naomi's stomach dropped. "I haven't stolen anything. We'll let the search determine that." Victoria's smile was radiant. "I'm sure it's all a misunderstanding, but we have to be thorough, don't we? Especially with someone who has access to the Coleman heirs." Naomi watched them leave, heard their footsteps heading toward the staff quarters. Her room, where she'd hidden the matching jacaranda pendant Catherine had given her, where her old employee badge from St. Mary's was tucked in a drawer, the one piece of evidence that proved she'd been there when Catherine died, evidence that Victoria now knew existed. "You should go with them," Victoria said pleasantly. "Make sure they don't damage any of your possessions." Naomi ran. She reached her room just as Hayes was going through her dresser. The drawer where she kept the pendant was already open, her few personal items scattered across the bed. "Please," she started. But Marcus was already holding up something. A small bottle, prescription label visible. "Found this in her nightstand," he said. "Looks like medication, not prescribed to her." Naomi's blood turned to ice. She'd never seen that bottle before in her life. How interesting. Victoria appeared in the doorway, examining her nails. "Isn't that the same medication that was reported missing from the nursery last week? The infant sedative?" "I didn't..." Naomi's voice cracked. "That's not mine. I've never seen it before. Someone planted..." "Of course you'd say that." Victoria sighed dramatically. "Hayes, I think we need to call the police. Theft. Possible endangerment of minors. Nobody's calling anyone." Richard stood in the hallway, his face carved from stone. "Richard, thank God." Victoria moved toward him. "I hated to suspect her, but when medication started going missing, I had to..." "Stop." He held up one hand. "Just stop talking." He walked past Victoria, past Hayes and Marcus, straight to Naomi. "Did you take that medication?" Naomi met his eyes. "No, sir. I've never seen it before." "Do you have any proof of that?" "No." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Just my word." Richard looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned to Victoria. "Show me the missing medication report." What? You said medication was reported missing from the nursery. Show me the report." Victoria's smile flickered. "It was a verbal report from the night nurse." "Which night nurse?" "I don't remember specifically." "Then get me the nursery inventory logs." Richard's voice could have cut diamonds. If medication was missing, it would be documented. Patient safety protocol requires it. The silence stretched like taffy. "I want everyone out," Richard said quietly. "Victoria, Hayes, Marcus, out. Now." They filed out, Victoria shooting Naomi a look that promised this wasn't over. When they were alone, Richard picked up the bottle Marcus had found, turned it over in his hands. "My test started yesterday," he said quietly, "but I think it's been running longer than I knew." The scene unfolded 3 days later, perfectly orchestrated like a theater production where everyone had their lines except Naomi. She was in the garden with the triplets, all three secured in a specialty stroller designed for multiples, the kind that cost more than Naomi used to make in 6 months. The afternoon was warm, the kind of gentle sunshine that pediatricians recommended for newborns. 20 minutes of fresh air, doctor," Morrison had said. "Good for their development." Naomi had been careful. She'd told Mrs. Chen where she was going. She'd brought extra bottles, diapers, blankets. She'd even left a note on the kitchen counter with the exact time she'd left and when she'd be back. None of it mattered. She was adjusting Christopher's sun hat when the shouting started. "Stop her!" Victoria's voice, shrill enough to shatter glass, coming from the direction of the house. Naomi looked up to see her running across the lawn. Actually running, which would have been comical if it wasn't so terrifying. Red dress hiked up, face flushed with what looked like genuine panic. Behind her, a crowd was forming. Hayes and Marcus, 2 of the daytime maids, the cook, even old Mr. Patterson from the groundskeeping staff, who usually avoided house drama like the plague. "She's taking them." Victoria pointed at Naomi like she was identifying a criminal in a lineup. "She's stealing the babies. I saw her from the window. She's been planning this for days." Naomi's heart stopped. "What? No, I'm just... Don't move." Hayes had his hand on his radio, probably calling actual police. "Step away from the stroller, Miss Reyes." "I'm giving them fresh air," Dr. Morrison recommended. "You have no authorization to remove those children from the house." Victoria was breathing hard, hand pressed to her chest like her heart might give out. Richard specifically said the triplets were not to leave the property without explicit permission. "We're still on the property," Naomi said, trying to keep her voice level, even though panic was clawing up her throat. "We're in the garden. I left a note." "A note?" Victoria's laugh was razor-edged. "You think a note gives you the right to take 3 infants without supervision? I am supervising them. That's what I'm doing right now." "You're a waitress." Victoria's mask was slipping again, rage bleeding through the concerned fiancé act. "You serve drinks, you clear tables, you have no business, no right, no authority to make decisions about the Coleman heirs." The crowd was getting bigger, more staff appearing from various corners of the estate. Drawn by the commotion, Naomi could see them whispering to each other, could see the way they looked at her. Suspicious, judgmental, already convinced of her guilt. "Ms. Ashford, please." Naomi hated how small her voice sounded. The babies needed fresh air. "I was coming right back." "With what?" Victoria moved closer, and Naomi saw it then. The setup, the perfect, calculated setup. "With the babies? Or were you planning to meet someone at the property line? Hand them over to whoever's paying you?" "Nobody's paying me anything." "Really? Then explain this." Victoria held up a phone. Not her own. Naomi realized with dawning horror. Naomi's phone. The cheap prepaid one she kept in her apron pocket. "Explain the messages we found," Victoria continued, voice dripping with false sympathy. "The ones arranging a meeting, discussing payment, planning an exchange. There are no messages like that. That's not possible." "Show them, Hayes." The security chief took the phone, scrolled through it, his face getting harder with each swipe. Then he turned the screen toward the gathered crowd. Naomi couldn't see what was on it from where she stood, but she could see the reactions: shock, disgust, anger. "I don't know what you did to my phone," Naomi said desperately, "but I never sent those messages." "I would never." "She's lying." One of the maids, Julia, who'd always been cold to Naomi, stepped forward. "I saw her on her phone yesterday, typing something and looking all secretive. I was texting my landlord about rent," Naomi protested, but her voice was getting lost in the rising murmur of the crowd. "And I saw her in the storage room last week," Marcus added, "going through boxes, looking for something. I was looking for extra blankets because Benjamin was cold." "She's been acting strange for days," Julia continued, warming to her role, asking questions about Mr. Coleman's schedule, about when he'd be traveling, because I needed to know when to prepare meals. Naomi could hear the desperation in her own voice. "That's my job." But nobody was listening. The narrative was already written. The conclusion already reached. She could see it in their faces. They'd already decided she was guilty. Victoria moved to the stroller, hands reaching for the babies. "Don't." The word came out harder than Naomi intended. "Don't touch them." "Excuse me." "Your hands." Naomi's voice was shaking now, but not from fear, from rage, from the kind of fury that came from watching someone destroy you and knowing there was nothing you could do to stop it. "They're not clean. You were just handling my phone. God knows what else. The baby's immune systems are still developing." "How dare you?" Victoria's face went white. "How dare you tell me how to handle these children? They're mine. They're not yours." The words exploded out of Naomi before she could stop them. "They're Catherine's, and you—" She cut herself off, but it was too late. The damage was done. Victoria's smile was triumphant. "And what, Naomi? Finish that sentence. Tell everyone what you think I did." Naomi's mouth opened, closed. The crowd was dead silent now, watching, waiting. "That's what I thought." Victoria turned to Hayes. "Call the police. I want her arrested for attempted kidnapping and get those babies back inside before she tries anything else." "Wait." Naomi's hand went to her throat, fingers finding the jacaranda pendant hidden under her collar. "Just wait. 5 minutes, please." "I can explain." "You've explained enough." Victoria reached for Alexander's carrier. "I know about San Antonio," Naomi blurted out. "I know about Dr. Westfield and the envelope and what really happened the night Catherine died." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria's hand froze on the carrier. Her face went very still. "What?" she said quietly. "Did you just say—" "I was there." Naomi's heart was hammering so hard she could barely breathe. "At St. Mary's, the night Catherine Coleman was admitted. I saw you in the hallway with Dr. Westfield. I saw the envelope. I saw—" "You saw nothing." Victoria's voice could have frozen fire. "You're a delusional woman making desperate accusations because you've been caught. Then why did you pay him?" Naomi pulled the pendant out from under her collar, held it up. "Why did Catherine die from complications that appeared in her medical records, but not in the nursing notes? Why were pages missing from her chart?" The crowd was murmuring now, confused, uncertain. Victoria stared at the pendant. Something flickered across her face. Recognition. Fear. "Where did you get that?" "Catherine gave it to me." Naomi's voice was steadier now. "Before she died. Before you—" "Security!" Victoria's voice cracked like a whip. "Remove this woman from the property immediately. She's clearly unstable. Look at it." Naomi held the pendant higher. Look at the photo on the nursery wall. Catherine's wearing the same one. It's a jacaranda bloom. Do you know what that means? Do you know why she had one? I don't care about jewelry. It was a signal. Naomi's voice broke. Between sisters, between Catherine and... Enough. Richard's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. He was standing at the edge of the garden, and from the look on his face, he'd heard everything. Inside, he said quietly, all of you. Now. Nobody moved. Now. The crowd scattered like leaves, but Richard didn't follow them. He walked slowly across the lawn, his eyes fixed on the pendant in Naomi's hand, on the jacaranda bloom that matched the one Catherine wore in every photograph. Tell me, he said softly, stopping a few feet away. Tell me everything, and don't you dare lie to me. Naomi looked at Victoria, who was standing frozen by the stroller, all color drained from her face. Then she looked at the triplets. Alexander, Benjamin, Christopher, Catherine's sons, her nephews. Okay, Naomi whispered, but you're not going to like what you hear. Richard's study had always reminded Naomi of a courtroom, all dark wood and leather, built to intimidate. Now, sitting across from him with Victoria perched on the arm of his chair like a beautiful, venomous bird, Naomi understood why. This was a trial. Start talking. Richard's voice was flat, emotionless, the kind of calm that came before hurricanes. Naomi's hands trembled in her lap. She'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her head. But now that it was here, the words felt like stones in her throat. My full name is Naomi Reyes Bellamy, she began. Catherine was my half-sister. The silence that followed could have swallowed worlds. That's impossible. Victoria recovered first, laughed sharp as breaking glass. Catherine was an only child. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows the story her father told. Naomi's voice was steadier now. The official version, the one that erased my mother and me from the family tree when the scandal got too big to ignore. Richard leaned forward slightly. Explain. So she did. The words came faster now, tumbling out like a confession she'd been holding back for 15 years. Her mother, Maria Reyes, who'd been Daniel Bellamy's mistress for 2 decades, the double life he'd maintained. Legitimate daughter with his society wife, illegitimate daughter with the housekeeper nobody looked twice at. Catherine and I grew up together, Naomi said, staring at her hands. Different houses, but we knew about each other. Our father made sure of it. He said family was family, even if the world didn't see it that way. How touching. Victoria's voice dripped poison. And where's your proof? Birth certificate? DNA test? Or are we supposed to take your word? There's a birth certificate. Naomi met her eyes. Filed in Santa Fe under my mother's name. Father listed as Daniel Bellamy. I can get it if you need to see it. When did this happen? Richard asked. The separation. I was 13. Catherine was 15. The memory still hurt like a fresh wound. Our father's wife found out about us. Really found out, not just suspected. She gave him an ultimatum. Choose the respectable family or the shameful one. He chose Catherine. It wasn't a question. But Naomi nodded anyway. My mother and I were given money. Enough to start over somewhere else. Enough to stay quiet. She pulled the pendant from under her collar again. But before we left, Catherine found me. She was crying. She gave me this and made me promise to keep it. Always. Said that someday, when we were old enough, she'd find me. We'd be sisters again. Richard's eyes were fixed on the pendant. And did she? 3 years ago, Naomi's voice cracked. She tracked me down in San Antonio. We'd meet for coffee when she was in town on business. She wanted to rebuild what we'd lost. She wanted... The grief rose up suddenly, choking her. She wanted her baby to know its aunt. Naomi finished quietly. She didn't know it would be triplets then. Didn't know she wouldn't survive to see them grow up. Convenient story. Victoria stood. Started pacing. The long-lost sister, showing up right after Catherine dies. Let me guess. You want money? A piece of the Coleman fortune. Is that what this elaborate charade is about? I want justice. Naomi looked at Richard. Catherine died at St. Mary's Hospital in San Antonio on March 15th. I was working there as a medical assistant. I was there the night she was admitted. Richard's face went very still. You were there. I switched shifts, called in every favor I had to be on duty that night. I wanted to be close. In case, her voice broke, in case she needed me. And Richard's knuckles were white on the chair arm. Something was wrong. The words came faster now, urgent. I couldn't get into the delivery room, family only, hospital policy. But I could see things, hear things. The nursing notes didn't match what the doctors were saying. Catherine's medications were being adjusted constantly, doses changing every few hours. The attending physician kept getting calls on his personal cell, leaving the room for long conversations. That's standard procedure, Victoria started. Dr. Marcus Westfield. Naomi cut her off. That was the attending. Do you know him, Ms. Ashford? Victoria's face went blank. I've never heard that name. Really, because I saw you talking to him in the hallway outside the surgical suite around 10 p.m., maybe 2 hours before Catherine started hemorrhaging. You're lying. Am I? Naomi pulled out her phone. The real one, not the one Victoria had planted evidence on. Because I still have my employee badge from St. Mary's. I still have the shift logs that prove I was there. And I still remember exactly what you were wearing. Black coat, designer, probably cost more than I made in a year. You handed Dr. Westfield an envelope. White, business-sized, thick. Richard stood slowly. Victoria, this is insane. Victoria's voice climbed higher. She's making things up, trying to... The hospital has security cameras, Naomi continued relentlessly. In the hallways, the parking garage, if we request the footage from that night. That was almost 4 months ago. Victoria's mask was cracking, fear bleeding through. Any footage would be long gone. Not if there's an active investigation. Richard's voice was deadly quiet. Not if there's suspected medical malpractice or homicide. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Victoria laughed, but it sounded wrong, desperate. You can't be serious, Richard, darling. You can't possibly believe this girl's conspiracy theories. What was in the envelope, Victoria? I don't know what she's talking about. What was in the envelope? Richard's roar made everyone jump. Even the triplets, quiet until now in their stroller, started to fuss. Naomi moved automatically, going to them, but Richard held up a hand. Don't. Not yet. He turned back to Victoria. I'm going to ask you one more time, and I want the truth. Were you at St. Mary's Hospital the night Catherine died? Victoria's jaw worked silently. Then, incredibly, she smiled. Yes. The admission shocked the room into silence. Yes, I was there. Victoria's voice was calm now, eerily so, because I was worried about you. Richard, about Catherine, about the high-risk pregnancy everyone was so concerned about. I wanted to be close in case you needed support. And Dr. Westfield, an old family friend. I ran into him. We chatted, that's all. About what? I don't remember. It was months ago. Hospital small talk. Victoria moved toward Richard, hand outstretched. Darling, you can't actually believe I had anything to do with Catherine's death. I loved her. We all did. It was a tragedy. Nothing more. Then why didn't you tell me you were there? Richard's voice was cold as January. I was at that hospital for 3 days. You visited once for 20 minutes, and you never mentioned you'd been there before. Never mentioned seeing anyone. Never mentioned... Because I knew how it would look. Victoria's composure fractured. I knew people would think exactly what this lying little waitress is trying to make you think. That I had some ulterior motive. Some horrible plan. But I didn't. I was just being a friend. Friends don't lie about hospital visits. I didn't lie. I just didn't mention. That's a lie of omission. Richard pulled out his phone. And I'm done with lies. What are you doing? Calling my lawyer. Then calling the hospital. We're going to request those records, all of them. Catherine's medical files, the security footage, Dr. Westfield's phone logs. You can't. Victoria grabbed his arm. Richard, please. You're being irrational. He shook her off like she was toxic. And then we're going to get that DNA test to prove whether Naomi is who she says she is. She's not. Victoria was losing it now, voice going shrill. She's a con artist. If she's lying, the DNA will prove it. Richard's eyes were ice. And if she's telling the truth, then you've been lying to me for months, maybe longer. Richard, get out. What? Out of my study, out of my house. Richard's voice was perfectly level, perfectly calm, perfectly final. Now, Victoria stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. You're choosing her over me. This nobody. This. I'm choosing the truth. Richard looked at Naomi. Whatever that turns out to be. Victoria didn't leave. For 3 days, she stayed in her suite at Montgomery Estate like a queen under siege, emerging only for meals and always with that same brittle smile, that same veneer of wounded dignity. I'm not going anywhere, she'd told Richard on day 2, voice dripping with martyred patience. I won't let this girl's lies destroy what we've built. I won't abandon you when you need clarity. But clarity was coming, whether she wanted it or not. Richard's lawyer, Thomas Chen, Mrs. Chen's nephew as it turned out, was a bulldog in an expensive suit. Within 48 hours, he'd subpoenaed St. Mary's hospital records, requested security footage, and filed a formal complaint with the Texas Medical Board regarding Dr. Marcus Westfield. The DNA test took longer. Naomi had submitted her sample immediately. Blood drawn in the estate's medical room by a licensed phlebotomist. The triplets' samples came from their newborn screening cards, already on file. Results in 5 to 7 days, Thomas had said. Expedited processing. Now it was day 4, and the house felt like a powder keg waiting for a match. Naomi was in the nursery, changing Benjamin's diaper, when she heard the footsteps, too light to be Richard, too purposeful to be staff. Victoria appeared in the doorway, and for the first time since Naomi had met her, she looked disheveled, hair slightly mussed, makeup not quite perfect, like the mask was starting to slip and she couldn't hold it in place anymore. We need to talk, Victoria said. I have nothing to say to you. Oh, I think you do. Victoria closed the door behind her, locked it. Naomi's blood went cold. What are you? Shut up. Victoria's voice was different now. No sugar, no performance, just raw, naked rage. Just shut your lying mouth and listen. Benjamin started to fuss. Naomi picked him up instinctively, holding him against her chest like a shield. Victoria laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Look at you, playing the devoted aunt. It's almost convincing, almost. The DNA test will prove you share genetics with Catherine. So what? Victoria moved closer. That doesn't make you a good person, doesn't make you trustworthy, doesn't mean you have any right to these children. More right than a murderer. The slap came so fast Naomi didn't see it coming. Her head snapped sideways, cheek exploding in pain. Benjamin screamed, "Don't you dare!" Victoria's voice was poison soft. "Don't you dare call me that." Naomi's eyes watered, but she didn't move, didn't back down. What else should I call someone who paid a doctor to kill her rival? I didn't kill anyone. Victoria's smile was terrible. Catherine killed herself. Stupid, naive Catherine, who actually thought she could have it all. The husband, the babies, the fairy tale. She was weak, her body was weak. Those triplets would have killed her eventually anyway. I just helped nature along. There it was. The confession Naomi had known was coming but hadn't wanted to believe. You're insane, Naomi whispered. I'm practical. Victoria examined her nails, casual as discussing the weather. Catherine had something I wanted. She was never going to give it up willingly, so I removed the obstacle. She was a person. She was competition. Victoria's composure shattered like crystal. Do you have any idea what it's like? Growing up with nothing, watching people like the Colemans float through life on inherited wealth and unearned privilege. I worked for everything I have, every dress, every contact, every step up the social ladder. I earned it through blood and calculation while people like Catherine were just born into it. So you killed her. Naomi's voice shook with rage. You murdered a pregnant woman because you were jealous. I eliminated an obstacle. Victoria's eyes were fever bright. And I'd do it again. Catherine didn't deserve Richard. She didn't appreciate what she had. She was soft, sentimental, weak. She was good. Naomi was shouting now, Benjamin crying harder against her shoulder. She was kind and loving, and she would have been an amazing mother. She would have been mediocre. Victoria spat. Just like you. Just like your pathetic mother who spread her legs for a married man and settled for scraps. You're both the same. Nobodies who think proximity to power makes them special. At least we're not killers. Victoria's laugh was unhinged now. You keep saying that word, like it means something, like anyone will believe you. She pulled out her phone. I have texts from you planning to kidnap the triplets. I have testimony from staff about your suspicious behavior. I have a planted medication bottle with your fingerprints on it. That won't hold up in court, won't it? Victoria's smile was razor sharp. I have money, Naomi, connections, the best lawyers in 3 states. What do you have? A birth certificate and a conspiracy theory. I have the truth. The truth. Victoria moved closer, and Naomi backed up until she hit the wall. The truth is that you're a bitter, jealous woman who resented her sister's success, who showed up after her death trying to cash in on the Coleman fortune, who's so unstable that you're willing to make wild accusations against an upstanding member of society. Richard will believe me. Richard will believe whoever has the better story. Victoria's breath was hot on Naomi's face, and mine is much more convincing than yours. The hospital records will show that Catherine died of natural complications, because that's what Dr. Westfield wrote. That's what the official report says. Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper. Did you really think I'd be stupid enough to leave evidence? I planned this for 3 years. Every detail, every contingency. You think some throwaway medical assistant seeing me in a hallway is enough to bring me down? The security footage. Mysteriously corrupted. Hospital. It is very apologetic about it. These things happen. You know, hard drives fail. Naomi's stomach dropped. You destroyed it. I protected my interests. Victoria stepped back, composure returning like a snake sliding back into its skin. Here's what's going to happen. That DNA test will come back. Yes, you're Catherine's half-sister. Congratulations. Richard will feel sorry for you. Maybe even let you visit the babies occasionally. But you'll never be their guardian. Never be family. Because I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. What are you talking about? The kidnapping attempt, the planted evidence, your history of instability. I'll create one if I have to. Victoria's smile was genuine now, warm and terrible. By the time I'm done, you'll be lucky if Richard doesn't press charges. You'll certainly never work around children again. He'll see through you. Will he? Victoria tilted her head. Or will he see a grieving fiancé trying to protect his children from a disturbed woman making outrageous accusations? A woman who admits she was there the night his wife died but conveniently never mentioned it until she needed leverage. The truth of it hit Naomi like a physical blow. Victoria was right. Without hard evidence, without proof beyond her word, she had nothing. You won't win, Naomi said, but her voice lacked conviction. I already have. Victoria moved to the door, unlocked it, then she paused, looking back. Oh, and Naomi, if you try to leave with those babies again, if you even think about it, I won't go to Richard. I won't go to the police. I'll go straight to my contacts in family court and have you declared a threat. You'll never see those children again. She left, heels clicking away down the hall, and Naomi sank to the floor, Benjamin still crying in her arms. The door opened again. For one terrifying second, Naomi thought Victoria had come back, but it was Mrs. Chen, face pale. How much of that did you hear? Naomi whispered. Enough. The older woman pulled out her phone. I was in the supply closet. I heard shouting. So I stayed, recorded everything. Hope flickered in Naomi's chest. Everything. Every word. Mrs. Chen's hands trembled slightly, including her confession. From somewhere in the house, they heard Victoria's laugh. Bright, artificial, performing for an audience. We need to get this to Richard, Naomi said. Now, before she destroys anything else. Mrs. Chen nodded. She's a monster. No. Naomi looked down at Benjamin, finally calming in her arms, at Alexander and Christopher, sleeping peacefully in their bassinets, at the photo of Catherine on the wall, smiling with her jacaranda pendant. She's just a woman who forgot that truth always comes out. Always. Richard sat in his study, phone pressed to his ear, listening to his lawyer deliver news that rewired everything he thought he knew about his life. The DNA results are conclusive, Thomas said. Naomi Reyes Bellamy shares approximately 25% genetic markers with the triplets. That's consistent with an aunt-nephew relationship. She's telling the truth, Richard. She's Catherine's half-sister. The phone felt like lead in Richard's hand. You're certain? The lab ran it twice. There's no doubt. Richard thanked him and hung up, sat in silence for a long moment, staring at the photo of Catherine on his desk. How many secrets had she carried? How much had he never known about the woman he'd married? A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Come in. Mrs. Chen entered, and the look on her face made Richard's blood run cold. Mr. Coleman, she said quietly, there's something you need to hear. 20 minutes later, Richard sat frozen in his chair, Mrs. Chen's phone on the desk between them, Victoria's recorded voice still echoing in his ears. I eliminated an obstacle, and I'd do it again. Catherine didn't deserve Richard. Did you really think I'd be stupid enough to leave evidence? I planned this for 3 years. Catherine would have died eventually anyway. I just helped nature along. The words kept repeating in his head, each one a hammer blow. 3 years. She'd been planning this for 3 years, while Catherine was alive, pregnant, happy. Victoria had been calculating her death. Where's Naomi? His voice came out hoarse. Nursery, with the babies. Mrs. Chen's hands twisted in her lap. Mr. Coleman, I'm so sorry. If I'd known earlier, if I'd suspected, you had no reason to suspect. Richard stood slowly, feeling like he'd aged a decade in the last hour. None of us did. What are you going to do? Good question. What did you do when you discovered the woman you'd almost married was a murderer? When you'd invited a killer into your home, given her access to your children, almost made her their mother? I'm going to end this, Richard said quietly. Tonight, he found Victoria in the sunroom, sipping wine and scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. She looked up when he entered, smile automatic and brilliant. Darling, I was just thinking about the wedding menu. I know we've postponed given all this drama, but when we do reschedule, I think we should consider there isn't going to be a wedding. Victoria's smile froze. What? The DNA results came back. Richard stayed by the door, keeping distance between them like she was radioactive. Naomi is Catherine's half-sister. Everything she told us was true. Well, yes, that part might be true, but I also have a recording. Richard pulled out his phone. Of you confessing to Catherine's murder. Every word. Crystal clear. The color drained from Victoria's face so fast he thought she might faint. That's not possible. I never. You told Naomi that you'd been planning Catherine's death for 3 years, that you paid Dr. Westfield to help nature along, that you'd do it again. Richard's voice was perfectly level, perfectly controlled. Inside, he was screaming. Mrs. Chen heard everything, recorded everything. Victoria set down her wine glass with shaking hands. Richard, you have to understand. I don't have to understand anything. His control was fracturing now, rage bleeding through. You killed my wife. You killed the mother of my children, and then you tried to replace her like she was a piece of furniture you'd gotten rid of. She was dying anyway. Victoria stood abruptly. The doctors said the pregnancy was high risk, that carrying triplets could kill her. I just accelerated the inevitable. That's not your decision to make. Someone had to make it. Victoria's composure shattered completely. Catherine was weak. Richard, she would have died and left you alone with 3 babies and no one to help. I was doing you a favor. A favor! Richard's roar echoed off the windows. You murdered my wife and call it a favor. I loved you. Tears were streaming down Victoria's face now, mascara running in black tracks. I've loved you for years, watched you waste yourself on her when you could have had someone strong, someone worthy. You're insane. I'm devoted. Victoria moved toward him, hands outstretched. Everything I did for us, for the life we could have had. Catherine was never going to give you what you needed. I needed her alive. Richard backed away, revolted. I needed my children to have their mother. His voice broke. I needed to not be lied to by a murderer. You're overreacting. The police are on their way. Richard's phone buzzed with a text. That was Thomas. He's already filed charges, murder, conspiracy, medical fraud. You can't do this. Victoria's voice went cold. You think anyone will believe that recording? I'll say it was coerced, edited, taken out of context. Thomas already sent it to the DA. along with testimony from Naomi about seeing you at St. Mary's, along with subpoenaed records showing money transfers from your account to Dr. Westfield. Richard's smile was bitter. You were right about one thing, Victoria. You did plan this carefully, but you forgot something important. What? Money leaves a trail, always. The doorbell rang. Through the window, Richard could see police cars pulling up the drive, lights flashing in the dusk. Victoria looked at them, then back at Richard. You're making a mistake. Those babies need a mother. They have an aunt. Richard opened the sunroom door. One who actually loved their mother, who's been protecting them since before they were born. That nobody. Victoria laughed, high and desperate. You're choosing her over me. I'm choosing truth over lies, justice over murder. Richard's voice was steel. And I'm choosing to make sure my sons never, ever learn that I almost let their mother's killer raise them. The police entered, and Victoria's performance came out in full force. Tears, protestations, claims of misunderstanding. But Richard watched her being read her rights, watched the handcuffs go on, and felt nothing but cold, crystalline fury. Richard, please. Victoria's voice was desperate as they led her away. You're throwing away everything we could have had. Everything I did for you. You did nothing for me. His voice was quiet enough that only she could hear. You did it all for yourself, and Catherine is dead because of it. Victoria opened her mouth to respond, but the officers were already guiding her out, her protests fading as they reached the front door. When they were gone, Richard stood in the silent sunroom for a long time. Then he walked upstairs to the nursery. Naomi was there, sitting in the rocking chair with Christopher asleep against her shoulder. She looked up when he entered, eyes red-rimmed. I heard the sirens, she said quietly. It's over. Richard moved to the nearest bassinet, looked down at Alexander, Catherine's son, his son. The police have her, Thomas says with the recording and the financial evidence. She'll be convicted. Good. Naomi's voice was hard. Then it softened. I'm sorry. I know you cared about her. I cared about a lie. Richard touched Alexander's tiny hand, felt the automatic grip response. I never knew the real Victoria. If I had, he trailed off. You couldn't have known, couldn't I? Richard's voice was bitter. Catherine tried to tell me something was wrong in those last weeks. She kept saying she felt unsafe. I thought it was pregnancy paranoia. I dismissed her. Richard, I failed her. The admission hurt like a physical wound. My wife told me she was afraid, and I didn't listen. And now she's dead. Naomi stood carefully, keeping Christopher secure. What Victoria did, that's not your fault. You can't blame yourself for not seeing a monster hiding behind a beautiful face. Can I? He turned to face her. I was going to make that woman my son's mother. I was going to let her raise them, if you hadn't been here, if you hadn't spoken up. But I was here. Naomi met his eyes. Catherine made sure of it. She asked me to protect them if anything happened to her. She knew Richard somehow. She knew. Richard looked at the jacaranda pendant around Naomi's neck. Tell me about her. About my wife. The parts I didn't know. So Naomi did. She talked about the sister she'd lost and found again. About coffee shop meetings and whispered conversations. About Catherine's fears and hopes, and the desperate love she'd had for the babies she'd never get to hold. And Richard listened, tears streaming down his face, as he learned about the woman he'd married, the woman Victoria Ashford had murdered, the woman whose sister had come to save her children from the same fate. The call came at 2 a.m. Richard jerked awake, heart hammering, phone buzzing insistently on his nightstand. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Coleman. Mr. Coleman? This is Officer Patricia Mendez with County Police. The voice was professional but urgent. We have a situation. Victoria Ashford posted bail an hour ago. Richard was out of bed before the officer finished speaking. How Thomas said bail would be set at $1 million. Her father wired it. We tried to contact you immediately, but where is she now? We don't know. She left the station and we lost track of her vehicle. Mr. Coleman, given the nature of the charges and her documented threats toward Naomi Reyes, we think you should... Richard was already running. He burst into the nursery to find it empty. Bassinets vacant. Blankets disturbed. His blood turned to ice. Naomi. He ran down the hall, checking rooms. panic rising with each empty space. Naomi. Mrs. Chen appeared from the staff wing, hair in a nighttime braid, face pale. Mr. Coleman, what's wrong? Where's Naomi? Where are the babies? She moved them to her room an hour ago, said she had a bad feeling, wanted to keep them close. Richard didn't wait to hear more. He took the stairs to the staff quarters 3 at a time, heart in his throat. Naomi's door was locked from the inside. He pounded on it. Naomi, it's Richard. Open up. Silence. Then a muffled crash from inside. Richard threw his shoulder against the door. Once, twice. On the third hit, the lock gave way and the door slammed open. The scene inside stopped his heart. Victoria stood by the window, wild-eyed and disheveled, still in the clothes she'd been arrested in. In her hands was Benjamin, squirming and starting to cry. And between Victoria and the door, Naomi stood with Alexander and Christopher clutched to her chest, her body a human shield. Don't come any closer. Victoria's voice was raw, stripped of all its usual polish. I swear to God, Richard, if you take one step... Victoria. Richard held up both hands, trying to stay calm even though terror was screaming through his veins. Put him down, please. He's just a baby. He's my baby. Victoria's voice cracked. They're all mine. I earned them, I planned for them, I eliminated the obstacle. You killed his mother, Naomi said quietly. That doesn't make you his. Shut up. Victoria's hands tightened on Benjamin, and the baby started crying in earnest now. You don't get to talk. You're nothing. A nobody who got lucky because you share some DNA with a dead woman. Put him down, Richard said again, voice steady despite the panic clawing at his chest. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. Tears were streaming down Victoria's face. I gave you 3 years. 3 years of being exactly what you needed, and you threw it away for her. You murdered Catherine. Because she was in my way. Victoria was sobbing now, mascara running, hair coming loose from its clips. Because she had everything I deserved and she didn't even appreciate it. The money, the house, the husband, the perfect life. She took it all for granted while I had to claw and scrape for every scrap. So you killed her? Richard moved slowly, incrementally closer. And now you're threatening her children. I'm saving them. Victoria backed toward the window. Benjamin wailing. From her, from you, from this toxic situation, I'll take them somewhere safe, raise them properly. You're not taking them anywhere. Naomi's voice was steel. Put Benjamin down, or I swear You'll what? Victoria laughed. High and broken. You have no power here. You're staff. You're nobody. You think Richard's going to choose you over me? You think you can just waltz in and take over Catherine's life like... She cut off abruptly, staring at Naomi, at the pendant around her neck. That necklace. Victoria's voice went strange. Where did you get that? Catherine gave it to me. Liar. But Victoria's hands were shaking now. She wouldn't... She told me that necklace was unique, that her father had it specially made. He made 2. Naomi's voice was gentle now, like she was talking to a wild animal. 1 for each of his daughters. Catherine wore hers every day, even in the delivery room. Did you notice, Victoria, when she was dying? She was wearing it. Victoria stared at the pendant, something crumbling in her face. She knew, Naomi continued softly. Toward the end, when things started going wrong, Catherine knew something wasn't right. She called me that night, left a voicemail. Naomi's voice cracked. She said, if anything happens to me, protect my babies. Don't let her near them. She knew, Victoria. She knew you were going to kill her. No. Victoria was shaking her head. No, she couldn't have known. She did. Richard's voice was thick with grief. She told me she felt unsafe. I thought she was being paranoid, but she knew. That's impossible. Victoria looked down at Benjamin in her arms, and something in her expression shifted. She trusted me. We were friends. She was afraid of you, Naomi said, and she was right to be. Benjamin's cries had reached fever pitch now. Victoria looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time, red-faced, terrified, fighting her hold. Stop crying, she whispered. Please stop crying. But he didn't stop. And slowly, visibly, something broke inside Victoria. They hate me." Her voice was small, childlike. "All of them. They've always hated me. Even as babies. They could tell." She laughed, bitter and broken. "Children can sense evil, right? That's what people say. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am." "Victoria." Richard took a step closer. "Give me my son." Victoria looked up, and for just a second, her face was clear, lucid, almost sane. "I loved you," she said quietly. "I really did. Everything I did. It was because I loved you. I know. It was a lie. But Richard would say anything to get Benjamin back safe." "I know you did. Do you?" Victoria smiled sadly. "Or are you just saying what I need to hear so I'll give him back? Does it matter?" Victoria considered this. Then, carefully, she kissed Benjamin's forehead, a gesture so tender it was obscene given everything she'd done. "No," she said. "I suppose it doesn't." She handed Benjamin to Richard, and the relief that flooded through him was so intense he nearly collapsed. "Thank you," he managed. "Don't thank me." Victoria looked at Naomi. She won. The invisible girl, the nobody. She beat me. "This wasn't a competition," Naomi said. "Everything's a competition." Victoria moved toward the window. "And I lost." "Victoria," Richard started, but she was already opening it. "Don't." Her voice was calm now, eerily so. "Don't try to stop me. Don't try to help. Just take care of them, the babies. Make sure they never know what their mother's killer almost became. Victoria, please." But she was already gone, climbing out onto the fire escape, disappearing into the night. Richard lunged for the window, but Naomi grabbed his arm. "Let her go," she said quietly. "The police know she's here. They'll find her. She could hurt herself. That's her choice now." Naomi's voice was hard. "Not ours." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Richard looked down at Benjamin in his arms, at Alexander and Christopher safe with Naomi, and felt something in his chest that might have been relief, or might have been grief, or maybe both. "It's over," Naomi whispered. "It's finally over." But as they heard Victoria's footsteps clattering down the fire escape and the police cars screeching up the drive, Richard wasn't sure if anything was ever really over, or if they'd just survived the first act of a tragedy with too many scenes left to play. 3 months later, the nursery smelled different now. Less antiseptic, more lived in, talc powder and fresh coffee. Baby lotion and the faint trace of gardenias from the open window. Real life, Naomi thought. This is what real life smells like. She stood at the changing table, wrestling a clean onesie onto Christopher, who'd decided that getting dressed was the worst injustice ever perpetrated against a 4-month-old. "I know, pequeño," she murmured, kissing his belly and making him giggle despite his protests. "But you can't stay naked forever. Trust me, it's not socially acceptable." "Says who?" Naomi looked up to find Richard in the doorway, holding 2 coffee mugs and wearing what she'd come to think of as his dad uniform. Jeans with spit-up stains on one shoulder. T-shirt that had seen better days. Hair slightly mussed from Alexander grabbing fistfuls of it. He looked exhausted. He looked happy. "Morning," she said, finishing Christopher's snaps and picking him up. "You're up early." Benjamin decided 4 a.m. was party time. Richard set down the mugs and moved to the bassinets. "Checking on the other 2. Took me an hour to get him back down. You should have woken me. You were dead to the world besides." Richard smiled. "I'm getting better at this. Only dropped him once." Richard, kidding mostly. He picked up Alexander, who immediately grabbed his ear. "Ow, when do they learn that ears aren't handles? Around the same time you learn that 5 hours of sleep is a luxury." They fell into the morning routine they'd developed over the past months. Bottles warmed, diapers changed, 3 babies fed in a carefully choreographed dance of efficiency, born from repetition. It was domestic and mundane, and nothing like the life Naomi had imagined 3 months ago, when Victoria had been arrested, and the truth had exploded across their lives like a bomb. The trial had been quick, with Mrs. Chen's recording, the financial evidence, and Dr. Westfield turning state's evidence to save his own skin. Victoria's conviction was a foregone conclusion. Murder in the 1st degree, conspiracy, medical fraud. 30 years to life, Naomi had testified, had looked Victoria in the eye across a courtroom, and recounted every detail: the envelope, the suspicious circumstances, Catherine's final voicemail. Victoria had stared back, beautiful even in a prison jumpsuit, and said nothing. No apologies, no explanations, just silence. It was almost worse than rage would have been. "You're thinking about her," Richard said quietly, pulling Naomi back to the present. "How did you get this look, like you're somewhere else?" He shifted Benjamin to his other shoulder. "It's okay to think about it, you know. What she did, what almost happened." "I know." Naomi looked down at Christopher, now sleeping peacefully in her arms. "Sometimes I just wonder what Catherine would think about all of this, about me being here. She'd be grateful." Richard's voice was certain. "She asked you to protect them. You did. You are." "We are," Naomi corrected. "You're the one doing midnight feedings and diaper blowouts and completely winging it, yeah." Richard laughed softly. "Turns out parenthood doesn't come with a manual." "Who knew?" Catherine knew. Naomi moved to the window, looking out at the estate grounds. They'd changed too. Less manicured, more relaxed. Richard had fired half the staff, kept only the people who'd been loyal when it mattered. Mrs. Chen was now head of household, running things with gentle efficiency. "I think about her every day," Richard admitted. "Wonder what she'd say about my terrible burping technique. Whether she'd laugh at how I hold bottles wrong. You don't hold them wrong." Benjamin would disagree. He gave me a look yesterday that clearly said, "You're an amateur." Naomi laughed, and it felt good, normal, like maybe they were healing. "Naomi," Richard's voice changed, got serious. "I need to ask you something." Her heart skipped. "Okay." "These past 3 months, you've basically been a full-time parent to the boys. More than that, you've been..." He paused, searching for words. "You've been the thing holding this family together, and I need to know, is this what you want, long-term, or are you just here out of obligation to Catherine?" Naomi looked at the 3 babies: Alexander, Benjamin, Christopher, Catherine's sons, her nephews, her family. "I'm here because I love them," she said simply. "Because Catherine asked me to protect them, and I intend to keep that promise for the rest of my life." "As what?" Richard moved closer. "Their aunt, their caretaker, their mother." The word came out before she could stop it, and Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. "I know I'm not. I mean, Catherine will always be their mother, but I want to be the one who raises them, who teaches them to be good people, who tells them stories about the woman who loved them so much she made sure they'd be protected even after she was gone." Richard nodded slowly. "Good, because I was hoping you'd say that." He pulled something from his pocket. "Not a ring." Naomi's heart did a strange leap and then settled, but a document. "Legal papers. I've been talking to Thomas," Richard said, "about making this official, about giving you legal guardianship rights, equal custody, your name on all the important documents." He met her eyes. "I want you to be their mother, Naomi, not just in practice, but in law. If something happens to me, I want to know they'll have you, and I want them to grow up knowing you chose them, not because you had to, but because you wanted to." Naomi's hands trembled as she took the papers. Guardianship agreement, her name listed as co-parent. Equal rights to make decisions, to be present, to be family. "Richard, you don't have to decide now. Take time. Think about it." "Yes." The word came out fierce, certain. "Yes, absolutely yes." Relief flooded Richard's face. Yeah. Naomi looked down at Christopher, still sleeping peacefully. "They're my family. You're my family. I'm not going anywhere." For a long moment, they just stood there, 3 babies between them, morning light streaming through the windows. Then Richard did something unexpected. He reached out and hugged her, careful not to squish the babies, but firm enough that Naomi could feel he meant it. "Thank you," he whispered, "for fighting for them, for being brave when I was blind, for..." His voice cracked. "For loving them when their mother couldn't." Naomi hugged him back with her free arm, and something shifted. Something that had been broken started to mend. "We're going to be okay," she said. "All of us." "I know." Richard pulled back, wiping his eyes quickly. Though fair warning, Benjamin's getting teeth soon, and I've been told it's hell on earth. We survived Victoria. We can survive teething. They laughed, and it felt like hope. Later, after bottles and burping and the controlled chaos of mourning with triplets, Naomi went to the nursery wall, to the photograph of Catherine, still in its place of honor. She hung the jacaranda pendant beside it, her matching one. Catherine's signal, the symbol of sisters who'd found each other against all odds. I kept my promise, Naomi whispered to the photograph. They're safe, they're loved, and I'm going to make sure they know who you were, what you sacrificed for them. The morning sun hit the pendant, making it gleam like gold, and Richard, coming up behind her with Alexander starting to fuss, said the words that mattered most. You won't be tested by money, you'll be loved for truth. Naomi turned, looking at him and the baby in his arms, at Benjamin and Christopher in their bassinets, at the life they'd built from tragedy and truth. That's all Catherine ever wanted, she said. That's all any of us want, Richard replied. The hard part is recognizing it when it's right in front of you. He held out his hand. Naomi took it, and together, surrounded by the children they'd both chosen to protect, they walked into their future. Imperfect, complicated, and completely, devastatingly real. Outside, the gardenias bloomed. Inside, 3 babies slept peacefully, watched over by the photograph of the mother who'd loved them enough to make sure they'd never be alone.